Hello everyone, it's Roger here from Vinylmation Kingdom.com with the the first ever webcast that I've done for the Vinylmation. I've been previously running this on sort of our Infinity and Beyond side of things for about the last 5-6 weeks, and I thought since we've got the Imagination Gala coming up, I thought I'd give this a try. So this is a bit of a pilot. We'll see how this gets on and see what the feedback is, etc. Okay, so what I thought I would do is we'll kick off and just look at some of the recent news that we've seen this past week in the Vinylmation Kingdom. So the big news from this week was that we had the new SpiderMan series. Now this SpiderMan series, I will just bring up this image here. It consists of 11 commons and 1 chaser. So in this series you have SpiderMan, obviously is probably the main figure and probably one of the most wanted. Also in there you have Kraven the Hunter, you have Electro, you have the Lizard, you have Black Cat, J. Jonah Jameson, you also have the Green Goblin, Mary Jane, Rhino, Mysterio, and Venom. And you also have the Chaser, which turned out to be the Kingpin. Now, for me, with these images here up on the screen, you can see what they look like. For me personally, I am a big fan of this. I'm hoping to get a case of this picked up for me this weekend. I used to love the 1990s comic, the cartoon that used to be on, and these characters look exactly like they did in that cartoon. So for me, they represent Spider-Man perfectly. However, I do realise, if you're used to the new Ultimate Spider-Man, or you maybe are only aware of the movies, some of the characters look a bit odd. The villain choices, it does look like almost a villain's case, because there's only really Spider-Man and Mary Jane that are sort of the heroes. But for me, some of my favourite figures from this set include not just Spider-Man. I think Venom looks amazing. I also think the Green Goblin looks really cool, and also Electro is one of the other really cool little villains there. So as I said, there's the Spider-Man set. It came out at D Streets in Walt Disney World. It also came out in Disneyland, and it even got released over in Disneyland Paris. You can also pick them up at DisneyStore.com, but I do believe the trays sold out really quickly. But that's not too surprising. The first Marvel series was one of the fastest selling Vinylmation series ever. It sold out extremely quickly. And I can see Marvel's 2, it could go very similar. I'm not entirely sure if it will be as fast. It's not the first Marvel's Vinylmation series, but it's also, with the amount of villains in there, it's not so maybe as mainstream as that initial first set was, because that had Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, in the big movie, and it's been so big that I can see why people were much more into that series. So I think Spider-Man won't be as popular, but it really depends on how many Disney made is how quickly they're going to sell out. It doesn't look like they've gone to Disney stores, but that could change. But there we go. So there was the first thing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to bring up some other news from this week on the subject of the Spider-Man set. So we'll just bring this up here now. So as you can see, I'm here on the Vinylmation Kingdom website. Now we found out about 2 variants. Now we found out first off that here, I'm just bringing up the page now. It was that a Mary Jane Watson variant was discovered, and this was discovered by Brendan Chahorn. He sent us this variant of Mary Jane. Now as you can see, she's got a black top on rather than the white top with the Spider-Man logo. Now for me, as you can see, there's Mary Jane Watson. So I'm quite happy with this. It's kind of a slight alteration. It's not an amazing variant compared to what we could have had. I think a lot of people were hoping for Spider-Man variants, but it makes sense that they can hold off for that because he's always going to be popular. But this is the variant that I love. Now this one was sent to us by Joshua McCoy, who was over in Disneyland Paris, and he sent. Sorry, he wasn't in Disneyland Paris. That was the guy that sent me the picture of the Kingpin. So here is the variant Norman Osborn version. So as you can see, they've basically changed the entire head and they've popped this guy on the top. And I love this variant. I think it's fantastic. I think the way that they've put, it's not just a variant of a colour or a little t-shirt. They've popped an entirely different head on it. And I just think it makes so much sense from sort of basically giving his sort of evil version. And I will also just bring up the chaser just so everyone can see what that one looks like. Okay, I'll just bring that one up here. So this one was discovered by Hans van de Put. He was in Disneyland Paris, and he picked this up Friday, and he was able to send us this image, so a big thank you to him. Now again, I love this chaser because of the Kingpin was one of the biggest villains in that set. Now, so for me, I did love that one. Okay, now also in terms of the Spider-Man set, what I really enjoy is if you look in the corners here on the ears, you can see all the skyscrapers, and I just think that's just really, really cool. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on what you guys think of the Spider-Man set. Remember, you can comment below on the YouTube channel. And speaking of the YouTube channel, remember to hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. As I said, this is a bit of a pilot to see how it goes, see what happens. But the story set to me looks pretty cool. There's some really popular characters in here. You've got like Buzz Lightyear, and you've also got the black and white versions of Jessie and also Woody. Now this set is going to be released on September the 12th online. It'll also be at D Streets, and it could even, I think this one's actually probably even going to be turning up at Disney stores, but don't hold me to that just yet. Maybe twice priced at $12.95, which is the common price for a blind box, and it also consists of 7 commons and 1 chaser. So let's just have a look here at the sets. So as you can see here, we have Jessie, Woody, Buzz, Trixie, Mr. Potato Head, Mrs. Potato Head, and then we have Dolly. Now, I'm going to this set seems to be really, really popular with a lot of people. People love the Toy Story, one of the most popular series that we had at the beginning. For me, I'm going to be honest, it didn't blow me away. There's something just not quite clicking for me, and I can't quite put my hand on it. I think Woody looks really good. I really like the black and white version of him. The Buzz Lightyear figure, again, it's good, but then it's Buzz. You can put him on anything, and he will be pretty cool. But what I kind of feel like is they've put in a couple of random figures. I mean, it's like Trixie and Dolly are 2 figures that, they're perfect in this set. In terms of, if it was a 12-piece set, they would have been a good extension. I'm going to be perfectly honest, and I'll probably get a bit of stick for this. I really dislike the Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. I'm sorry, the minute I saw them, all I could think of was Mr. Hanky from South Park. And I know that's really bad, but there's something about them that I just saw them and I was laughing. And that's not really good. And they look, like I said, they're a good design. People do like them. And I'm sure this set is going to be extremely popular. And I think people are going to like it. And I think it's, if it goes out to Disney stores, that'll be good. I think by going down to a 7-piece set, it does make it a bit stronger. But now this is where my big butt comes from. In the last month, we have seen some other Toy Story figures released on Vinylmation. In the Villains 5 set, we saw the Chaser, which was basically Owl's Barn Owl. He was basically done as a sort of a chicken in a suit, and it's a fantastic figure. It's such a cool chaser, and I think it's really well done. And then we had the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. You had Zurg, and you also had Stinky Pete. If you put those guys in this set, it would have looked amazing. And I would have wanted the Zurg. I wanted all 3 of those villains were, in my mind, the best figures out of all the Toy Story ones, and they're hard to get. And instead we've got, Dolly and the Mr. Potato Heads. So for me, that feels like a little bit of a disappointment. I know this is very popular, and I know people are going to love it. And I can see why some people would love, Buzz, Jessie, Woody, Trixie, Dolly. They all look really cool. I'm going to be interested to see what they do for the Chaser. And I think, over the years we've seen quite a few Toy Story figures, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. Okay, other news from this week. We've had a few bits and pieces. It's generally been a bit quiet. We've still got the information of another new release that came out on Friday, which was the Star Wars set, which was the Goofy and Donald Duck. So you had them as Han Solo and Chewbacca. This got released as a twin pack in D Street in Walt Disney World on Friday. It's got delayed and it's been pushed back to this coming Friday at D Street in California. So if you were looking after them, I think they were limited edition 1500. I think they look really cool. I'm hoping to get a set picked up for me there. As you can see up here, I've got all the Star Wars Vinylmations, and I thought those two character ones look really cool, and they are very, very high on my wants list. But the reason why I don't think we've had as much news, and why at the minute the release schedule, all we pretty much know about at the minute is Toy Story and a combo topper for the Part 14. The reason is we have got the big event of the year. We have the Imagination Gala. Now this is taking place next weekend. So this time next week we'll be all trying to sort of find out what's been going on in the Vinylmation, and there's going to be so much news coming out next week. We are going to find out pretty much everything that's coming up in the next year, and it's going to be big. We're going to find out there's going to be a really big, heavy news week next weekend. We'll be trying our best to cover it as much as possible on Vinylmation Kingdom, and it's just going to be, I think it's going to be really, really cool, and that's why we don't know a lot at the minute. That's, it makes sense for them. They've got this big reveal coming up to give everything to us at the event. So at the event, if you've never been, I personally have never been able to, I'm lucky enough to be there on time. The last 2 times I've been out in Walt Disney World, it's been a few weeks later. For me personally, it's the wrong time of year. We're still in the kids' holidays here in the UK, and I'm still busy at work, and there's no way I can get time off to head out to Florida for an event like this. So, what is happening at the event? I'm just going to bring up the itinerary so people can see what's going on. So the big event really is taking place next Sunday, which is going to take place in Epcot. It is a ticketed event, so if you want to get hold of it, you're going to have a ticket to go in. I'll just check in here. Okay. The Sunday looks like there's still tickets available. It's the only one that's got tickets available. The pin day and the breakfast are sold out, which is a shame. But as you can see here up on the itinerary, it kicks off with the Violet's carpet breakfast. So what that means is you can turn up, you get a free gift, or say a free gift, you've paid to come in, you get a choice for a breakfast, and then you can also usually get to see some of the items on display early. You also can basically do a little bit of trading. From what I've been told from previous guests, don't think too much about the breakfast. The breakfast isn't really up to much. Make sure you eat before you go in. If you can grab something to eat while you're there as a bonus, but primarily you want to make the most of having the extra hour and a half of trading and playing the games, because what they do at the event is they have games and you can line up and you can trade, and they put loads of good stuff into the trade box. There's going to be, in the previous years we've had cast chasers, there's also been lots of other bits like variants and really hard to get figures, so it's really good to kind of do this. The event kind of kicks off properly at 9:30 and it runs right through till 6 o'clock. And so at the event you can pick up any items you've done for the RSP, you can play games, there's trading, there's a store, and also they got stuff out for display. And the trading kicks off from 9:30 till 5 o'clock. There's also a silent auction going on, which basically is showing off of these items here, which I'm going to go through in a little bit detail in a bit. So you can basically put a bid for that. There'll also expect to be some customs up for available to do, so that looks pretty cool. Alright. Also at the events like animation, Star Wars, Marvel, we'll hear about them, but there hopefully might be some things that we haven't heard about, some other sets. I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about Eaches, because I think that's been really popular, but that's a whole other thing. So let's just bring back up here the itinerary. So also, as I said, they'll be having a showcase. So they usually put up like a load of display cases with a whole load of figures. If you're not going to be at the event, we'll have people sending us pictures and we'll be putting them up on the website. You can also join in the discussion over on the Vinylmation Kingdom Facebook group. Between 2 and 4, there's going to be some artists signing. And then finally there, as you can see at the bottom there, we've got some random selection process and some silent auction before they close the event. Now the reason they're going to have some special customs, there'll be bits and pieces up available. Now it is pretty cool. I mean, I think in general, if you're a big fan of Vinylmation, you're going to want to have a look at that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you a few items that were available to the RSP. Now what the RSP was if you're going to the event, you can put in what items you want to buy, and then from there you can, it was random selection whether or not you got them. For example, like items that were limited edition 300, you had less chance of getting them than the ones that were 1500, where you might have requested 3 of them. So let's bring up the, here we go. So this was the brochure that came out to us. So as you can see here, we have the Chippendale Award Ceremony 2-piece set. It has a limited edition size of 1000 and a retail price of $29.95. So you can see you've got Chippendale with the top hat, and they've got the canes. Personally love this. I'm a huge Chippendale fan, and I think that one's a fantastic set. Then we have the Villainous Duos CM, which was designed by Maria Klapsis, edition size 1500. This was originally announced at last year's Reflections of the Evil event because they asked everyone what they'd like to see, and these guys were voted. I think for limited edition size 1500, I think that's pretty high for this event. I think this one's going to be pretty easy to get hold of, and it wouldn't surprise me if this one went out to the street afterwards. Okay, then we have this item here, the Popcorn Mystery Beast figure. I love Popcorn. I love them. I think they're fantastic, and I can't wait to find out about Popcorn Series 2, which we haven't sort of heard anything about lately. So this guy is, there's a 9 out of 10 chance of getting the normal figure, and there's a 1 in 10 chance you're going to get a Imagination Gala variant. I'm guessing maybe gold, off the top of my head, as a guess. LE1000, I think because it's Beauty and the Beast, I think it's going to be one of the more popular ones. Anything to do with Beauty and the Beast is just amazingly difficult to get hold of. And then we have the Park Stars Figment LE750, retail price of $24.95. I personally love this, but I love Figment. I think LE750 is maybe too high for this. I think it's, this is already the third Figment Park Stars figure we've had. It is just gold. I don't know whether or not that's a little bit too high on that one. And then we have this set here, which is the Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs as the juniors. It has a retail price of $99.95, so it's pretty big. It's a limited edition size 300. Now that is the big key point here, is the limited edition size 300 is what's going to make it more interesting to watch. It's a big high priced item, there's a low LE, that's a good combination usually for collectors. So I think that one's going to be popular. Also at the event, we also have these two. We have 2 Trading Night series eaches. We have the Pete, and we also have Dumbo. Both LE500, $16.95 a piece. So, and there's going to be a variant version. Now, what is quite interesting about these eaches is they are for the Trading Nights. And I think we all assumed when we saw a load of them back at the beginning of the year on like eBay, and we saw pictures of them, we thought we were going to be getting a lot more trade events. We're here into the last day of August. We've only had a couple of trading events. So what they're going to have to do is, if they do have other ones, they're going to have to chuck out as many of these eaches as possible. It wouldn't surprise me if we had another event on each coast before the year's out, and they can clear out those Trading Night vinyls. They've been really popular, and they've been really sought after. The queues for Oswald back in the beginning of the year was insane. But that's because not only is it limited edition 500, but with those variant versions, there's some money to be made, and people love having variants. So I think those 2 ones are going to be pretty. I think Dumbo's going to be the one to watch. I think he's going to be pretty hard. I know on the RSPs, a lot of people, they only got the one that they were after. So there we go. So let's just have a look here again at these are the main items that are going to be up in the RSP. This is what people have already ordered. This is what they can pick up. We don't yet know what the breakfast free gift is, and we don't yet know what the free gift for the actual attending is. we won't find that out. We should pick that up on Thursday, because on the Thursday what they will be doing is you can go to in the evening and you can then pick up your stuff. So that event on the evening on the 5th just allows you to get in, and so not the 5th, it'll be on the 4th, where you can basically get in there and pick your stuff up. Now if you're at the event, I'd probably recommend you go do that on that day. Go pick up your stuff, then you don't have to be lugging it around with you on the day, and you can concentrate on the other things. Like I said, we don't know about the breakfast, we don't know about the free gift, and also then you're going to have the chaser that they'll be putting. They'll usually have a junior and a 3-inch, so they'll be in the tray boxes. So it's going to be really interesting to find that. If you are at the event and you want to send us pictures, you can do that on the Facebook group. You can email us, tweet us, whatever else. It's going to be a busy week next over the weekend when we start seeing those stuff coming through. You know, there was lots of variants in the tray box last year that we found out. Could we see that again this year? Unreleased ones that we never saw. It is just this, as I said, this is the biggest part of the year for us at Vinylmation Kingdom. It's when we find out lots of information, so be sure to make sure you're subscribed on our Instagram account, make sure you're subscribed on Twitter, Facebook, and a member of the group, and just keep checking on the website, because there'll be lots of information. And my aim is to do another one of these videos after the event, to go through all of my thoughts and just to have a general discussion with what's going on. Usually I'm going to be trying to, if I can get this thing up and running, we'll be doing a little bit more live interaction with viewers, but because this is the first one, like I said, it's a bit of a pilot. So there we go. So that was the main bits from the Imagination Gala. We'll be finding out a lot more about it, and I think everyone that's into Vinylmation will be excited about what's coming up. It's also really exciting to see what the year ahead is going to bring. The last 12 months since the Reflections of Evil has been a strange year for Vinylmation. It's been unlike the previous years. We went for a huge drought. The real sort of slowdown really kicked in after sort of Christmas. We hardly saw any releases, and then now August they just went nuts. They just literally threw as much at us as I think is possible before the Reflections of Evil, or before the Imagination Gala could kick off. It really feels like it's been a really heavy month with 4 to 5 blind box series, lots of twin packs. It's just been loads coming out at once. There could be some reasons for that. I personally think that with the production moving maybe over to Vietnam from China, they maybe had some slight issues which got things delayed, or they just decided they wanted to fill the stores up in the parks for the holiday season, because all the stuff that's come out this month, they're all going to be on the shelf for the rest of this holiday season for people buying. They're all quite big, very big, popular sets on the shelves now. You know, everything that we've seen this year, generally in terms of a blind box series, have all been, you know, proper full-on characters. They've pretty much done away with anything that's been non-Disney. We haven't really seen a non-Disney set since the Cutester set. I don't think we're going to see. I'll be very surprised if we see Cutesters and Urban Redux announced at the Imagination Gala. I think they know that they've got to do Disney. I think these non-Disney stuff just hasn't been working, and this year, you know, it seems to have been going well. But we don't know. We haven't quite got the full, you know, the sales figures. But generally, everything seems to be having a lot less. It has seemed to have sort of got things interested. I know some people don't quite feel the same frenzy that we used to have. But then you know, other than in August, we weren't having constant weekly new releases. So this month's been a bit crazy. I know personally, you know, with having so many sets out, I had to get picky. I couldn't afford to go and buy every single set that came out. So I've had to skip a few. Animation 5 was one of those sets that I liked quite a few of the characters from. I'm still trying to get hold of Donald and Felix, because they're the two ones I mainly want. But I simply looked at history and thought, well, the animation sets have generally been around for months to years afterwards, so I'd rather have gone for them. I figured Marvel would be the first one to sell out rather than animation. So that's my own personal views. But anyway, like I said, so we've had lots of information coming up this next coming week, and I think it'll be really cool. If you haven't already done so, remember to check out VinylmationKingdom.com. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and you can also find us right here with sort of Twitter at Vinylmation King. You've also got us on Facebook. You'll also notice there we have a little Twitch there. That's generally for the Disney Infinity side. And you can also get hold of me as well at Rob Palmer UK. Now, thank you very much for tuning in to this webcast. As I said, it was an initial pilot to see how this went, see what the reaction was from our readers and watchers, and just to try and do something a little bit different. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and peace out.